I decided to leave millions of dollars on Wall Street, all for Torah. In November of 2006, I had an elective surgery that went wrong. I went in healthy, I came out sick. Most important person in my life is idol worshiping without even knowing it. So she prayed that night that Hashem either show her the sign, show her proof, give her something, or kill her. I actually become part of a study, and they start injecting stuff into me every single day, which makes me feel like dying. They injected ozone, which you don't really want to do. Steroids, same thing that the athletes take. Cost a lot of money, by the way. And everything and anything you can try. Nothing works. So once I heard that Hashem said, "Rofei kol basar mafli la'asot." He's the healer. So I start paying attention, and I said, okay, these religious people are coming anyway. Let me see if one of them wants to teach me something. No one was really interested, so I went to they were strictly business. So I went to a class and started learning. Later on, it was just once a week, but still not doing tshuva. But the situation started getting worse and worse. I started losing millions and millions of dollars. Just as fast as it came, it started leaving. And then one day I have a miracle where my mom dials a wrong phone number in a different country, and it ends up being the only person that could help me. One day she calls. She saw me a few days before that. I was looking worse and worse. And she started, Sephardic mom always has a book of rabbis, so she starts calling every single number she has. But for 2 hours, no one answers the phone. Eventually, some lady in Israel answers the phone. She asks for a certain Rav. And she says, I'm sorry, it's the wrong phone number. There's no such Rav. My mom breaks down to this strange lady. She starts crying hysterical. And the lady says, Doris, which is my mother's name. So not only does this lady know her, but she can recognize her voice. My mom shocked, and she says, who are you? How do you know my name? She goes, I'm your niece. What's niece? Pnina. She says, how did I reach you? I don't even have your phone number. I've never talked to you before in my life on the phone. Last time I talked to you was maybe 10 years ago, but I saw you in person. You were a little kid. She says, I don't know. But if Hashem sent you to me, then obviously there has to be a reason. Why are you crying? My son is sick, he's dying, he's this, he's that. I need some Rav to bless him. She says, well listen, why don't you call my brother, Rav Reuvan. He's connected to Rav Ovadia, he lives 2 doors down, he's Talmid Chacham. Call him. So she calls Rav Reuvan, he calls her back because he's in a kollel. At the same time that Rav Reuvan is talking to her, I never knew that Rav Reuvan exists. I never knew he existed. He was only a couple years old when I left Israel. We never talked. But anyway, my mom cries to him and tells him my sob story. And Rav Reuvan says, does he speak Hebrew? She says, yeah, he speaks a little bit of Hebrew. She says, okay, can I call him? He goes, no, he won't talk to you. He doesn't talk to us barely. And at that very same moment, which I find out later, I decided to call my mom on the other line. And she answers the phone hysterical, crying. I tell her, what's wrong, Ima? What's wrong? She says, talk to him. Who? Talk to him. Who? Ephraim. Who's Ephraim, Bichlal? Why are you crying about this Ephraim? What did he do? Just talk to him, he can help you. Okay, anyone can call me, just stop crying. So Rav Ephraim calls me, and he tells me the story of Judah and Tamar. Little do I know that he also knows that I'm married to a non-Jew. I like the story. It's the first time I ever heard the story. I was already in my late 20s. Not a very big compliment to my Torah knowledge at that point. And I like the story. So I started asking him questions. See if he answers. I ask him business questions, he answers. I ask him Torah question, he answers. But he doesn't just answer like, you'll ask me a question, I'll answer you, but I'll sometimes give you an answer with no source. He gives me a page number, a book, and an exact year was written, something amazing. Like, I thought I was smart. This guy is something out of this world. So we talked for an hour and 40 minutes. You're going to miss your story. He knows the story. I'm just kidding. We talked for an hour and 40 minutes. It was a very nice conversation, and a week later he calls me at the same time, Thursday at 4 o'clock. We have a 3-hour conversation. I ask him questions. He gives me answers with a source, and he makes me feel good. Every time I ask a question, he goes, oh, what a great question. So-and-so asked the same question 852 years ago. So I feel like, oh, yes, of course. Of course he has the same question as me. So he tells me the answer, he tells me the source, and I just start coming up with new questions. I never even knew I had all these questions. For the next 9 months, every Thursday at 4 o'clock, we're at an average call between 5 to 7 hours. Only questions and answers. Later on, he tells me that he used to pray before the call to know the answers. And I said, what do you mean to know the answers? You even know the page number and the guy and this and that. He goes, I didn't even know the questions. I never asked the questions you asked. I never cared about the stuff you did. But when you asked them, it was pretty good questions, and Hashem gave me the answers. Siyata Dishmaya is what we call it. The special Siyata Dishmaya you get when you do Kiruv. So now how does Rabbi Mizrahi get into it? So now little by little, I start learning Torah with him. Everything I learn, I teach my wife, who for some strange reason always wanted me to be a religious Jew, even though she was not. And she would tell me to stay home for the holidays, and I tell her why. And when people would ask me, don't you want your wife to convert, have Jewish children? I said, I'm not doing it. Why should I tell her to do it? I'm not a hypocrite. Can't tell her to do something I'm not going to do. It's not fair. You can't just make somebody Jewish. It's either they want to be Jewish or not. You can't just make someone stop believing something. I used to make fun of the Christianity in general. I used to call it the remix. They took our Torah and they mixed it up a little bit. They made something new. It has mistakes in every single page, as every one of you has seen in the debate. There's a nice Kiddush Hashem that's eternal. I think that's what they're going to show Rabbi Mizrahi when he gets to his Olam Haba, or at least the first part of his Olam Haba. He's going to show him the debate. See, this is a good one. This got you the first few ones. So now, you can't just make somebody stop believing. But now, little by little, I'm learning Torah, and I'm realizing that I start to smell something funny. I start to smell the garbage that I'm in. See, the problem is, when you're part of the garbage, you don't smell anything. You can't smell anything. You're part of it. You start leaving with some Torah, you become a little bit... 0.5% or 1% kadosh, because you learn 7 hours a week, you start smelling something funny. So I start realizing there's something wrong with my picture. Maybe it is a problem. So I start learning more and more Torah, and I said, you know what? I guess my wife has to convert, but how do I get that? How do I get her to convert? So I tell her, you want to convert? She goes, no, I don't think you can. I said, no, I've heard. Somebody said you can convert. She goes, no, I don't think you can leave. Then it's a problem. It's this, it's that. Neither one of us knew anything. She knew Proverbs by heart, but she didn't know that conversion even existed. No one ever knew you could leave idol worship. We didn't even know it was idol worship. So now, I start learning about Christianity. Because I realized that you can't make someone stop believing something. You can't just say, listen, you believe XYZ for 30 years? Okay, stop. And replace it with this. It's not ice cream. You can't just exchange after you took a bite because the guy's really nice. You can't. So first you have to prove that it's wrong, and then you have to give them something good. The problem is that in between, there's nothing. There's an emptiness. And that's why most converts, when they actually get to that point, when they get to the point of nothing, before they know the Torah is true, 100% divine, there's a point of emptiness that's a disaster. Some of them really want to kill themselves during that time, because You thought you had something, and now you just realized your entire life was fake. Everything you believed your entire life is nothing. It's just a mistake. It's almost like a Baal Tshuva, but not to the same extent. And now there's something else, but you're still not 100% sure, so now you don't really have anything. There's no purpose. It's a very, very difficult stage, which is the reason why HaShem has special treatment for them, and why they're mentioned in the Torah more than anything else. And why even in Amidah we mention them before we mention us. Convert that chooses Hashem is considered higher than a natural born Jew. But a righteous convert, not just any convert because they had a nice boyfriend from a Syrian family with a lot of money. So now I start learning about Christianity and I become obsessive. First rabbi I went to was Rabbi Tovia Singer. He was very good, speaks extremely fast, which was my style. I was a Wall Street guy. I trained over 130 different salesmen. I had all these people. That was my style. Fast, 150 miles an hour, telling me all these verses. It's amazing. I showed it to my wife. After about 10 seconds, she said, okay, thank you very much, and not interested. He talks too fast. So then I had Rabbi Reuvan give me some proofs that he can find, because whatever I'm doing is not working. He writes a whole letter with proofs and proofs and proofs and proofs and proofs, and I read it to my wife. She's hysterical crying, and she says, no thank you. I like the Torah, but it doesn't mean that I have to be Jewish. I can still keep the Torah. I continue to find different things. One day, after watching one video after another, I get a recommended video on YouTube. They have a part of this mitzvah, maybe. The debate. So I said, oh, this looks interesting. So I press on the debate. I watch the debate. It's amazing. But there's one problem. Until now, I just thought that Christianity was second best. Like, I didn't know what I knew now. Like, now I've become obsessed with it for months and months and months and months, and I'm learning all these things, all these verses and everything else. But the debate made me realize that it's outright fake. It's not second best. It's outright idol worship. It's nothing. So now the most important person in my life is idol worshiping without even knowing it.